Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice this meeting of the Atlantic County Board of Chosen Freeholders was provided in the following manner. It was published in the Press of Atlantic City. It was mailed to the Current, Daily Journal, and Hamilton Gazette News, and there is postings on bulletin boards in the county office buildings in Atlantic City, here at Stillwater, the county clerk's office at Mays Landing. All rise for an opening prayer, please.
Our Heavenly Father, we pray for the strength and courage to work for a world of peace and understanding, for new visions and truth, and a new service to our fellow man. Grant unto all assembled here health and happiness, and let thy blessings rest upon us. Amen.
Amen. All face the flag. Attention, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bennett. Here. Bertino. Dorsey. Days.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Kern.
Here.
Risley.
Here.
And Formica.
Yes, freeholders, we've all been provided with a copy of our minutes from April the 10th. If you were present and had a chance to review them, are there any corrections, additions, or comments? I'll take them now. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adopt.
Motion. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Abstain.
Horsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, moving on to resolutions. 186, please.
Amending Resolution Number 115 adopted March 27, 2018, regarding a grant application to the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice for the 2016 Edward Burr Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG 1ITF 16, no cost.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any public input on this resolution? Freeholder comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
187, please.
Grant application to the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety for the alcohol and impaired driving while intoxicated, traffic enforcement and education program, amount not to exceed $51,500.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Another grant application. No public concerns? Freeholder comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
188.
Grant application to the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management, Federal Emergency Agency for fiscal year 17 Emergency Management Performance Grant, Emergency Management Agency Assistance in the grant funding amount of $55,000, county in-kind match $59,483.96.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Again, another grant application, public interest. Freeholder comments? We will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Horsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 189.
Alternate method agreement with MTS Software Solutions, Inc. to provide maintenance service for the Fortis Imaging proprietary software, amount not to exceed $26,647.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A contract resolution. Any public comments? Freeholders? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Horsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 190.
Amended contract with Russell Reed Waste Hauling, doing business as Mr. John, for the provision of portable sanitation units to provide locations to extend the term date only, no additional cost.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any public input? Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino. Horsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 191.
EUS contract with Insurance Agencies, Inc. to purchase a policy which will reduce the named storm wind deductible in the amount of $31,066.61.
Moved and seconded. The insurance resolution. Any public interest? Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Horsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 192.
Contract with various vendors for the provision of library goods and services and supplies, amount not to exceed $770,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Big contract, $770,000. Any public interest? Freeholder comments?
Just a note that this, it did go out to RFP.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 193.
Professional services agreement with Craig Testing Laboratories, Inc. for material testing services in the amount of $98,972.50.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public comments? Freeholders? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 194.
Open space financial assistance agreement with Hamilton Township, amount not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public interest in this open space resolution. Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 195.
Renewal shared services agreement with the Township of Galloway for snow removal, street sweeping, and lawn maintenance at the Galloway branch of the Atlantic County Library System, amount not to exceed $10,950.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any public comment? Freeholders? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 196.
Amended interlocal services agreement with the City of Pleasantville for the provision of security services at the Pleasantville branch of the Atlantic County Library System, amount not to exceed $21,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public concerns? Freeholder comments?
Yes.
Freeholder Corsi.
Chairman, if I may, I'm a little confused here. I thought we had an outside agency providing security at the library at Pleasantville.
We do in the library. I brought the library director. She's been dealing with Chief Riggins on this. Why don't you go ahead and explain?
It's a shared cost with the city, so we pay part of it and they pay part of it. They were initially paying the whole thing when we had an unarmed guard there. But when it was necessary to add an armed guard, the cost went up. And so the cost is split between the county and the city at this time.
And it's an outside service.
It is an outside service. It's USA Security.
I'm still confused, and it don't take much to confuse me. But if it's a county library,
That's right.
why does the city of Pleasantville share in the cost when we have over $1 million contract with an outside security firm anyway? Explain to me, if you can, what other county facilities that we have an outside security company, but the other municipalities share their services?
The
We don't.
the chief and the chief.
Bless you.
In our discussions with the chief, he elected to do this. I mean, the city of Pleasantville elected to do this.
Jerry, I'm going to support it this time.
Yeah.
That's my question. They support it because they knew the need of, and I don't know if y'all strong-armed them or not to come up with additional fees or not. I just say you did. I just being facetious with that. My point being is, what other towns pays to have security that the library is owned by the county? That's my question. And so I think it's a
Because
little
there is
disingenuous that we doing that, but I think it's a service that's needed because we all knew the problems that was going on in the library. That's why the cameras and stuff was installed, et cetera, and a armed guard. But no other county facility that I'm aware of, the municipality pays into it with Pleasantville.
Elected to do that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have in our contract with, who's our security force?
Tri-County.
Yeah, okay.
In Tri-County, how many armed guards do they provide for us? The other libraries?
None.
Not in the
Thank you.
libraries.
There's none, right?
That's inaccurate. That's inaccurate. Atlantic City has a armed guard.
Yeah, but we're,
But
that's
they're
not
not in
part
our
of our
system.
It's in the library. It's right next to the library.
But it's not our part of our
It's not our-
library.
We don't pay for it.
I'm just saying, of the library, I see where you're going with this, and I appreciate it, and I understand it, and I think, but the question I think can be answered is the cost is with an armed guard. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
And we do not have security with armed guards in any other branch of libraries. If that can, assuage some of your angst about it.
Chairman, I respect it. I have armed guards at one stop. I have armed guards at the animal shelter. Again, they armed guards, but we pay over $1 million to an outside entity to provide services. I'm not going to beat this dead horse to death, but you can rest assured we're going to revisit this one.
I would suggest you revisit it with this down, the chief of police
Oh,
made the decision.
I have all intent on Jerry, no question about it. I want to know
Right.
I want to know from which come the deviation. Now, how many years have the city of Pleasantville shared in the services of putting up money for security over there?
I think this is the second year.
Yeah.
We've had some armed guard in there for 2 years?
No,
I didn't think so.
we have just embarked on the second year, and we initially started with an unarmed guard. And at some point after 4 people resigned because they could not deal with what was going on there, the suggestion was made by the city to put an armed guard in there.
I'm going to support this resolution. I don't buy that argument, not by a long shot. That's not the story I got from the city of Pleasantville, but I'm not going to discuss that here. I got a totally different perspective on what happened. I thought ours were talking about the kids in the still wells and all that other kind of stuff in the fights. But I'm going to vote for this today, but I'm going to have this discussion with the police chief, the mayor, and the members of city council in Pleasantville, because if we're going to start there, we're going to be consistent across the board. I don't care if it's in the animal shelter. I don't care if it's in one stop, because in one stop, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, we have a tenant in there. Am I right?
Yeah.
Does that tenant pay towards the armed guard?
They pay their own armed guards.
Oh, so you got 2 armed guards in there?
They have 2 of their own.
We have 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
we have 2 armed guards, one upstairs and one downstairs, and we have 2 unarmed guards. The state pays for 1 armed guard and 2 unarmed. So the state pays for that.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I stand with you. You getting off in the trial to answer that question. No.
No, I did. I baited you.
I got Jerry, Chairman, if I still want to revisit this, but I'm not going to hold this up. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other comments? We'll call the roll.
Bennett? Yes. Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Protesting, yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. 197.
EUS contract with Glen Insurance, Inc. to purchase a storage tank pollution liability with terrorism policy from Plum and Foster for the county's 6 underground storage tanks in the amount of $6,361.80.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody interested in this resolution in the public? Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
198, please. Yes.
Shared services contract with Burlington County for the housing of adult female inmates at the Atlantic County Jail revenue generating.
Moved and seconded. Public comment. Freeholders?
Chairman,
Freeholder
I have
Corsi?
one question. I know we have Burlington County. Jerry, what is the other county? Was it Cape May County?
Gloucester.
Gloucester.
Gloucester. Only reason I ask that because Cape May's building their own facilities down there, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Every Warden Street.
Madam Warden, you still here?
8 more days.
Oh.
Next Tuesday be the last time you see me.
Yeah, who's counting, right?
She got
Thank
a
you.
fresh haircut, ready to go.
Yeah, right.
Any other Freeholder comments? We'll call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. 199.
Professional services contract for the various vendors and to establish a pool for the provision of youth shelter beds on an as-needed basis, amount not to exceed $94,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public concerns. Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Worsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. 200.
Competitive contracts with Stockton University, America Works of New Jersey, and Ideal Institute of Technology for a Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act out-of-school youth program in the amount of $923,697.
Second. Moved and seconded. Public interest in this $1 million contract. Freeholder comments. Jerry, could you give me the source of these funds, please?
You want, Ron,
Rhonda, can you give me the source of the funds,
Yes,
please?
they're given to us, they're federal funds given to us through the state, by the Department of Labor, for youth only, WIOA funds for youth only. 75% of the money that I get has to be spent on out-of-school youth, with the new legislation. So we get almost 1.3, around 1.3 million. So most of that money will go to out-of-school youth.
Okay.
Any particular, Chair,
Freeholder?
any particular reason why it was Stockton picked?
Well, we went out to bid. We received, as a matter of fact, we received about 5 proposals. We have volunteer scorers and evaluators. They score them, and they were the top 3 that made it the score necessary to award a contract. So.
And only reason I asked that question, we talk in terms of Atlantic Cape Community College and how we attempting to keep them afloat. And because Stockton is a university.
Unfortunately, Freeholder, they have to respond to the bid.
Oh, no, no.
If they don't
When you said that,
respond, so.
we always going to pitch ACCC.
Oh, I understand.
It is disappointing that they didn't respond to the
Yeah,
bid.
that is correct.
Maybe that's
I
something we
don't-
need to have a conversation about, so.
Thank you.
I don't know if we could get a letter or notice over to Dr. Gaba to make her aware of that, or does it go every year out the bid?
No,
How often?
it'll go, it can go every year, but I have, it's 1 year with 2-year renewals.
Okay, so just to keep it on her radar.
Ms. Lowry, if community college did respond, would they be an eligible institution?
Yes.
You question them right now? I'm moved out.
I get confused easily. I just wanted to clarify it for myself.
just so you know, I mean, Rhonda won't go into this unless you ask her, but just so you know, this is probably one of the harder groups of people to serve. So they may have made, I don't know that because I haven't spoken to them, but they may have made a conscious decision not to apply for the college. This is a very, very tough population.
And they have applied in the past, probably about maybe 6 years ago. They have applied, but it is a very hard population to serve. Unfortunately, I have to put most of the money that I get, I have to put to out-of-school youth because they are hard to serve, and they're trying to make sure that, those that need it the most get it, so.
I mean, with a new president at the college, I'm not sure if she's aware of it. There's been a lot of changing over there. A lot of VPs are gone. Sometimes you ask the question, was it intentionally not done, or was they aware of it? You never know.
That's true.
So,
The person
I'm
who
not saying anything.
The person who I deal with is still there, so I would hope she was aware of it, but I can't guarantee that.
Thank you.
Freeholder Days.
Just out of curiosity, Rhonda, I know some other youth programs go up to age 26. What are their age requirements for this one?
Yes, it goes up to 24.
24.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? We will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Worsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 201.
Bid contract with AE Stone Inc. for 2017 roadway improvements for Washington Avenue, County Route 608 in Egg Harbor Township, and the City of Pleasantville in the amount of $1,277,000.
Moved and seconded on this road contract. Public interest? Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Worsey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 202.
Change order number 2 and final contract with Prasanna Construction, Inc. for resurfacing of Mill Road, County Route 651, Section 7B, net increase $59,657.54.
Second. Moved and seconded. Public interest on this road contract. Jerry, what is, describe for me, what is 7B?
So let's just talk about this. We presented this to the budget subcommittee, and our county engineer made a very good presentation, so I brought him today. He's here, so he can
Just give me where it is on there. What's section 7B?
7B is basically in the city of Absecon from the bridge to Route 30.
From the bridge.
You know where the dam?
The dam, the bridge.
So you're talking about in Egg Harbor Township, you're talking, I'm seeking.
Yeah.
Come where, I got you, where fire turns in the middle at the turn before you
Yes.
get to Westcott Road?
That's correct.
And then, so it's from there all the way down to Route 30?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that, thank you. Any other comments?
You notice I sponsored? I mean, did you notice I moved it?
I did know.
I just want to be clear about that. Did you notice it was a change?
Madam Secretary, as a matter of procedure in the future, when Mr. Corsi moves a change order, I'd like to see how many times he does it in the year, so. Very commendable.
It's regarding public safety, so that's an easy one.
Very commendable, very commendable. Thank you, Freeholder.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just say,
Really got it.
we did get quite a compelling education in that meeting on the change order process, Conrad. So I was going to have a flow chart made that I'm going to bring. Anytime there's a change order, I'm just going to hold it up with that process so we remember. Because we all got quite an education on that. So.
Just because you got an education doesn't necessarily mean it's a whole bunch of accuracy. Sometimes when you mess up somewhere along the road when you built, put the project out, and I always tell y'all on this board, the lowest bidder becomes the highest bidder, and not the responsible bidder. And so you gotta be very careful when these change orders coming through the back door.
Okay.
Don't, because they gave
Change
you a
order
nice
doesn't mean
message.
mistake.
Yeah. Mr. Corsi, try not to let your past history with the city of Atlantic City and your judgment here in Atlantic County. Yes, Freeholder Days.
Chair, just to again clarify that this, the proposed improvements by the state on that intersection won't affect any of the work that was just recently done?
You're talking
Or that's a different
about,
spot, right?
you're talking about what we originally, you would ask for, the change for that the state's proposing out on Route 30 at the end of.
Right, that's in front of the bank, between the bank and the, it's on the north side of the railroad tracks in that area of the intersection. That's the area, and that is not, although we took the improvements through underneath the railroad tracks.
Right.
What they're proposing is within their limits of jurisdiction, which comes almost up to the railroad tracks.
Okay, just said immediately they presented that in Absecon, people were asking me, well, didn't the county just do work there? It's gonna be destroyed. That's one of the, the pet peeves is when, government doesn't communicate and it seems like money's just wasted. And so we make
It
sure
will
that
not
they-
impact, it will not impact.
Okay.
And
Just clarifying.
you've got the material, right, that shows it's the intersection and going to make it
Correct.
pedestrian safe.
Right, I just wanted that out in the public again. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other comments? We will call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 203, please.
Lease assignment and extension agreement with the Ocean Club Condominium Association, Inc., a New Jersey nonprofit corporation concerning the county's 800 megahertz emergency management and first responder communication system in the amount of $36,800.
Second.
Moved and second. Any interest in the public on this tower location? Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 204.
Lease agreement with the City of Summers Point for library facilities located 801 Shore Road, Summers Point, in the amount of $35,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public interest in this library resolution? Freeholder comments? We'll call the roll.
Bennett? Yes. Martino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick? Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 205.
Lease agreement with the City of Egg Harbor for library facilities located at 134 Philadelphia Avenue, Egg Harbor City, in the amount of $12,500.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Public interest. Freeholder comments? Call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi? Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 206.
Agreement with Televet Services, Inc. for the provision of fax scan kiosks at various library branches, no cost.
Moved and seconded, a no-cost resolution for faxing kiosks. Public interest, freeholders. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 207.
Appointment of Corey B. Ritchie to the Atlantic County Local Advisory Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse for a term to expire November 1, 2021.
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is Corey Ritchie here today? Any public input? Freeholders, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I would like a motion to combine and adopt all of our appointments today.
Second.
Anybody here in those appointments and reappointments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All reappointed. The next two, 2, 10, and 11 are road solicitations for charities. I'd like to combine and adopt them.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Go to 212, please.
Resolution endorsing and recognizing National Women's Health Week from May 13th through the 18th, sponsor Maureen Kern.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Freeholder Kern, you have the floor.
I just bring, when I see the awareness situation, that come up, I'd like to bring them to the attention of everybody. National Women's Health Week being this week, there is a website. A lot of us just get very busy. We don't go to the doctor. We don't check on things. I had a sister-in-law in the last couple of years, 47 years old, have a heart attack because she thought she was perfectly healthy. And so it's just important. It's our mental health. It's our physical health. Just to stay up. Stay up on what we should be doing and with our doctors. And the website that I have is womenshealth.gov, and there's a lot of really good information there.
Thank you. Any other freeholder comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
213, please.
Resolution urging consideration by the Division of Local Government Services of the analysis, points, and suggestions of Atlantic County and the developed by the Division of Rules and Regulations for Public Law 2017, Chapter 317, sponsor Amy L. Gatto.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Freeholder Gatto, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is bringing back, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago. In our budget subcommittee meeting, it was brought to our attention that a new law has been passed which could potentially change the way change orders are handled here at the government level, not only at a county government level, but all government levels. And our staff raised some concerns to us in terms of the transparency of change orders, the impact to our taxpayers, and how those change orders could or could not be handled in the future. So we had brought that update to the board several weeks ago with the suggestion of writing a letter to lawmakers, letting them know kind of some of the detriment that this could have to us as a county. And it was suggested that actually that feedback should go to the Division of Local Government Services because they are writing the rules and regulations that support the newly passed legislation. So, the hope is if we can get some feedback to them before they actually publish the rules and regulations, we might be able to head off some of the things that we had some glaring concerns about. So that's what's detailed in the resolution. And thanks to our solicitor, Speedle, he made sure there's a mention of an attachment with some notes from our staff that was handed out to you all additionally. So again, it's basically a resolution getting our concerns about the new legislation and if and how the rules and regulations are handled in such ways that could really kind of take that transparency away from us and the taxpayer. I don't know if anybody else from the budget subcommittee wants to add anything. Okay.
Okay, so this resolution is in support of getting feedback to the Division of Local Government Services and having them interpret points of how the change order process can remain transparent.
Correct. And Jim Ferguson, you reviewed that for us, correct?
Yes, I did, and a lot of the points were actually put together by myself along with Tony Pagano, Assistant County Counsel of my staff, who's very familiar with the local public contracts law, does a lot of work in that area, and he made mention of a number of the concerns. And, you know, I think it's a good resolution. I thank Roger for preparing it and including the attachment, which I think, you know, raises some really valid concerns.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other Freeholder discussion? Call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to 14.
Resolution requesting guidance from the County Department of Law about the new state law allowing the establishment of charitable funds for payment by taxpayers as credits against their state and local tax liability. Sponsor Karen L. Fitzpatrick.
Move. Moved in second. Freeholder Fitzpatrick, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. We talked about this a couple of months ago, but at this time now, this has become state law. The governor signed it last week or the week before. And I just wanted to hope that our county, Atlantic County, can help the residents here who pay state and local taxes. It's not just property tax. It also has to do with state income tax. The latest data that I have is 2015, 36,510 returns paid, an average of $5,426 in income tax, and 41,330 returns paid, an average of $1,672 in property tax. And you know when you take an average, if there's something really low, that knocks it way down. So, and even though we can't get the median, which would be half above and half below that number, we have the average. And if you add them together, that's $12,298, meaning that $2,298 would be lost by our citizens. And we're talking about 37,000 returns, and I think that, well, I can safely assume or propose that there are probably 2 people on each return, meaning 74,000 taxpayers here who would be affected by this. So there are 33 other states that have adopted this as a law and are setting up charitable organizations for their taxpayers to deposit those funds in lieu of their property taxes, which are no longer deductible. And so we are asking our law department to investigate what their recommendation is, if we can support this for our taxpayer as well. I heard from this board that there's a question of the constitutionality of the law, so that's why we bring it to our law department to investigate.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder comments?
And I appreciate the data that you provided, because I do like that. Did you mention 22,000? Is that the number you threw out that you thought were impacted?
22,000 people?
Yes.
74,000 people.
74,000 of our 275,000 residents. All right. I didn't realize that the income. None of the reading I did mentioned that in there. That the income tax was included. Yeah. I mean, my objection again, and I hear your point on averages, but you know, the average property tax bill in Atlantic County, except for Linwood and Longport, is under $10,000. So, you know, again, I just don't know if it's what the ROI is for our residents to expend that legal time to get back, you know, a level of return that is worthwhile. That's my main issue.
Thank you. Since this resolution is requesting the County Department of Law give us guidance on the state law as it relates to the federal IRS code. I would ask Mr. Ferguson to give me his feelings on this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in fact, there was discussion on this at the NJAC conference. Tim Cunningham and his group from the Division of Local Government Services had a seminar program. I believe it was Thursday afternoon, I believe. And they're working on putting their regs together. And they made no bones about it that, they don't make any prediction of what the Internal Revenue Service will do. And there is a concern, I think a very legitimate concern. I mean, I've raised it with the county administration, and that's the fact that you have the federal government who passed a tax reform act at the end of last year that became effective. And one of the key provisions in that, and one of the most controversial provisions in that, was the elimination or limitation on the amount of state and local property taxes that could be deducted from your federal tax return. Now, that is something that's controlled exclusively by the federal government, by the tax collecting agency, which is the Internal Revenue Service, which is as you know, a federal department. It's highly questionable in my mind that a state government or any inferior government, certainly inferior to the feds under the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, that you can have states attempting to undo what the federal government, in the form of both houses of Congress passing the legislation and the president signing it into law, that you can then have these very, not just New Jersey, but Karen's right, I think there were 32 or 33 other states that have done something at least very similar to this legislation. I just question that at some point that the IRS is going to sit idly by and say to people, you can circumvent by this what we have prohibited or limited you in doing. I mean, that to me, if the IRS acts on that and decides that they're not going to allow this, then all these state laws become absolutely meaningless because they can't direct the IRS or undo federal legislation. This would have to be done at the federal level with Congress passing some amendatory legislation to that. So I just think there's a considerable problem. I'll look into whatever I can look into, but I think it's all going to come down to what the IRS eventually does with this. And if they see that their tax receipts are being adversely impacted by states attempting to circumvent the intent of the legislation, not just the intent, it's right in the act, where they place this limitation upon it. I don't think the feds are going to stand for that. I think eventually they will likely, not approve of these provisions, and taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. And look, I'd like to see this go through because my combination of what I pay in state income tax and my property taxes, even in Galloway, in a 55 and older community, I pay, I think it's close to $8,200 in property taxes. So I would make out better of this, but legally, I just don't see that happening. So that's my position on it. I could do a lot of research that will end up amounting to nothing if the feds act the way I think they will.
Well, that's my point, because we could spend your time and our resources researching something whose legality of object sits with the federal government. And I think the state enacting these laws should have given that expectation, clarification, or guidance to us. At the end of the day, if the state's so concerned about the burden, which Karen calculated out would be $2,298, that you would not be able to use as a deduction based on 25% average means about $550 that you'd be forced to pay extra, if my calculations are right. About right? So we're talking about taking that $558 and putting it into a charitable fund, which would have to be put into an escrow account pending the outcome of the federal government. God forbid the state of New Jersey took one pot of money and you put it to something else that it was supposed to be used for, but then the taxpayers would be out there $550. So this, to me, presents a philosophical problem, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert, but for us to expend resources, I think, researching this is a little premature in advance of the federal acceptance of this. That's my opinion on this resolution. And to be honest with you, I find it disingenuous that the state enacted this law without allowing everybody to deduct all of their tax, real estate tax, under the state income tax. Why did they think of that? Because the limit is not imbued onto the states. So instead of it going just to $10,000 with the state, why didn't they let everybody who's paying over $10,000 take it as a deduction at least against the 10% in state income tax that we have? So I find the whole thing to be quite disingenuous and premature to do a research on.
Those are very good points you made, Mr. Chairman. Also, when I was in this seminar last week, they've got to understand, county government is not in the business of assessing or collecting taxes. That's done at the municipal level. Then our share of that, based on the equalization tables that the County Board of Taxation puts out, that amount of money that comes to us, is then paid over to us. My understanding of this, and from the seminar, and I think Julie Sharkey, who was here as our CFO, was at that same seminar, we would be required under this, the county would have to set up some type of mechanism to have the money flow to us. So it's not a simple thing of just the way it is now, where the municipalities do the assessing and the collecting and then turn over the amount to the county. The county would have to do something additional on top of that, which is an area that typically the county just doesn't get involved in on the way the state statutes are currently written.
And Mr. Chairman, that was another set of questions I had with regard to the impact to budgets. So does this go into a tax collection rate or not? Does it go, because then that affects your reserve for uncollected taxes at the municipal level? Is it treated like a pilot where the municipality collects it, keeps it, and nobody gets their share of it, meaning the county and the schools and the state? I had all kinds of budget-related questions.
And I don't know the answers to all of your inquiries there, because I would actually have to sit down and look very closely at the legislation and look at anything that may be coming down the pike from Division of Local Government Services before I can accurately answer those questions.
Well, my only answer is 33 other states have done it, have helped municipalities set up these charitable funds, mechanisms to collect the money. So there are models out there that work.
There's models out there that we're collecting it.
Debatable.
We're collecting it, but there is no discharge of model discharging that money anywhere.
The other thing to keep in mind too is these deductions or the changes to the federal law kick in starting when one files their 2018 tax return, which won't take place until you get into calendar year 2019. That's the way the cycle works. So the mere fact that everybody has adopted, or a number of states have adopted these types of programs, doesn't mean that you're going to get any fallout from it until the time of the filing of the 2018 returns. So.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Freeholder Risley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I have no problem with us continuing to look into it. That's not an issue. My concern, my biggest concern is I don't want to have this county be put in a situation where we're giving tax advice. And people go and do things and later on find out it was wrong. That's my concern. I don't give tax advice in the investment business. I do investments. I don't give out tax advice. And we don't give out tax advice. So we can continue to look into this to see how this thing ferments, if it's going to ferment at all. But as far as county liability and tax advice, that bothers me.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Dorsey?
Chairman, first of all, I'm going to support the resolution. I heard both my colleagues do the same. It doesn't hurt us to at least have him look at it. What I don't like is doing a prejudge of or pre-answer to the information that you asked them to look into before you look into it. All due respect, and I have to concur with you, I'm not an attorney by a long shot, and I certainly trust Mr. Ferguson's judgment, but I think it's disingenuous if at least give the opportunity to look at it and pursue it, come back to the board and says this is what we think, we can, etc. But to try to kill it from the door is unacceptable. For whatever reason, I don't know what the outcome of the other states that you mentioned. Maybe we need to do a background on that to find out how successful, if at all, they've been with it. But basically, it sounds to me, kill it now, and we're not going to waste the manpower. We waste manpower on a whole lot of stuff that we don't need to do, but we do it. And I think it's fair enough at least to explore it. And you don't need to spend a whole lot of time, months and years exploring it, but I think it's worth looking at.
So we are represented by 4 senators in this county and 8 assembly people. They are the ones that have enacted this legislation. Each one of them has their own legal counseling. I believe you should be researched. I think that we should get it from our legislators.
So why don't we do, Chairman, okay, listen, I can play that game. Why don't we turn around and then pass the next resolution urging our legislators to do the research and then send it back to us? I mean, my argument is let's not just try to kill this resolution to be killing it. If your recommendation and suggestion is that we notify our 4 senators and our 8 assembly people, urging them to now in contact with our solicitor to do the fact founding or do a benchmark where it's at, that's fine. And I think it's enough concerns on both sides of the aisle to talk about it. You know, we may get something done, and now that y'all's governor's out of office, you may be able to get an answer, a legitimate answer, and they may stick to what they tell you, opposed to, you know, telling you it's in the bill and then you don't get it, but you wind up getting it later. But again, I hear what you're saying, Chairman. I think that we should at least explore it.
And I am not suggesting that I'm suggesting it should be with the state legislators first, then bring it back to us and we'll consider it.
So
That's
you
my
have,
suggestion.
so let me ask you this, Chairman. Well, is it your suggestion that the sponsor of the bill reconsider and bring a resolution urging our legislators?
That would be a great suggestion.
I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I just don't want this bill to just die, to have it to be died.
It's brought back urging consideration, if it's brought back urging guidance from the state legislators, it should come back to us.
I'm asking you because I think you made the statement.
That's what I believe it should be.
But
Okay, so,
I'm sorry.
because it sounds like it's already been prejudged here, so.
but it went this way, and it was written this way on the advice of Mr. Steele, who said, bring it to the board and ask our county Department of Law for guidance. So now, we're going to rewrite it and ask our legislators for guidance. Is that correct?
I am telling you that Mr. Steele responded to a request you made, if your intent was to have the county's resources try to give us guidance on this. And it's clear from what our counsel told us that there are questions that he's not going to be able to answer. It really should be where it was birthed. It was birthed in the state assembly and senate. Let them give us exactly what their guidance is on this, and let's look at that. That's my opinion.
So make the resolution.
So I just have to ask the question.
Well, ask the question then, because this is where it becomes tricky,
Right.
and it becomes a gray area, because now we have 2 attorneys. We're not going to pin the attorneys against each other, that's for sure. So what happens is it's the recommendation of the board's attorney to ask the administration for guidance. So the administration's attorney ought to turn around and say, after further review, we suggest to the Board of Freeholders that you now notify the legislators. But don't make a predetermination here prior to a vote. That's what it sounds like.
Mr. Steedle, I'd like you to clarify that statement.
Which statement?
You made a recommendation. Did you make a recommendation?
My recommendation was that we turn towards a pathway of exploring what the law really meant, rather than a resolution that would simply adopt it, which court freeholders can't adopt the state law does it the other way around, and acknowledge its existence. There's no need to acknowledge its existence because it already exists. And what happened here, I'm just speaking to everybody at the same time, it's difficult to do that front and back, but what happened here was this law was really put together very quickly. And the reason for that is because it became somewhat of a political football. Because if you're a Republican, you see it as an invalid and unconstitutional attempt to restrict the federal government from passing its tax laws. If you're on the Democrat side, you look at it as an opportunity to re-energize the ideas on tax payments being made to charities, which then would be giving credits to the taxes on a local basis. So you have those two different viewpoints. They're very politically charged. So the law was put together very quickly. It was signed on May 4th, Friday, May 4th. I think that date is correct. And it's not even effective yet. One of the reasons why it's not effective is because there really isn't a whole lot that's in the 29 pages of the statute that is well explained, because it's complicated, it's complex. If you think about it, there are state income tax issues, there are Department of Treasury issues, there are how do you write it, how do you designate, how do you define what is going to be an eligible payment so as to get tax credit, how do you define it at various levels of governance. Very complicated stuff. I've read it. And each time I look at it and read it again, it's obvious to me that it's going to take a lot of work before this law can even really be presented to the public in a working fashion. And as Jim Ferguson pointed out, as a practical matter, it won't be for another year before this law will have any real effect. It will be a different tax cycle year. So my thought was that rather than simply make a resolution that was going to adopt it or attempt to adopt it, which you can't do, acknowledge it, which there's no reason to do that, it was in the newspaper, that we might use the time in between to check it out ourselves and see what vehicles we might think would suitably come within the confines of the law. It's not finished yet. The statute is not finished. It's going to be gone over rather completely by the Department of Treasury, by the State Division of Taxation, by the Division of Local Government Services, all of whom have been requested to give regulations and to promulgate rules and regulations so as to deal with those issues, because it wasn't finished at the time it was passed. It's still not finished, that's why it's not effective. So who knows what all these agencies are going to come up with by way of rules and regulations that will somehow or another define these issues and put them into a condition where they may be workable for people to actually deal with them. If I could get my taxes, which are going to be capped at $10,000, get that capped up, but I'd love to, so serve my purposes. But I don't know what's going to happen. Jim has pointed out that there are serious constitutional issues. There certainly are.
Thank
Did
you.
I answer your question?
Thank you. Freeholder Dave? I realize the resolution is just asking the county department of law to look into it and not asking us to pass something. My concern is that there are 565 municipalities in New Jersey, 21 counties, I don't know how many school districts. I would hope that they're all going to be doing their due diligence. We may wind up with over 100 different ideas of how this is going to play out. So I'm concerned that the state, as Mr. Steele said, didn't provide any guidance to this. We pay dues to NJAC. I mean, should we just wait and see what NJAC's take is on it as things kind of work its way out? I mean, that's my issue with this. You know, if every municipality and county and school district is going to do their own, which they all have their own attorneys, do their own research. I mean, we're paying dues to NJAC. Let NJAC figure it out and go from there. That's just my half a cent.
Thank you, Freeholder.
I do have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
That is, if we redo this resolution into another form, rather than asking our Department of Law to look into it, and we direct that inquiry and request to who? I mean, they don't have a committee at that legislative level to do it, so I don't know who you make the request to.
Would it be the Division of Local Government Services?
Well, there are tons,
Rules and
there are
regulations?
many agencies that do this all day long.
Yeah.
And as Freeholder Days pointed out, NJAC, there are full-time contracted constitutional attorneys there, as well as I believe that our legislators do have legal counsel on everything they do. Everything has to be reviewed by a lawyer.
Yeah, not really in the fashion that we're talking about, but yes, they do have legal counsel, so I'm not sure that we're really gonna be any better off 2 weeks from now when we have a revised resolution. We're not knowing where it's going. We have a 60-day period of time within which this is not effective law. The reason is so that these rules and regulations can be promulgated. I don't think they're going to get them done in 60 days, either, to be honest with you, because they're all very complicated and complex. But maybe the better course of action would be to wait until we do see what rulemaking they come up with to define some of these issues. And then we have a better opportunity perhaps to inquire what the county may be able to do with it.
Well, as we are, excuse me, Girl, as we've already been defined as not a tax collecting agency. We have no authorities. Whatever we're going to look into as far as that is really at the mercy of what develops in the next 60 days anyway.
That's true.
So I just don't really, I mean, we spend our services here legally, we spend our service on things that we can control and we have jurisdiction over. We have neither here.
You do have jurisdiction over whether you choose to vote this resolution up or down. However, I think I gave an alternative. If you don't want to support this particular resolution, is that you come back with a resolution urging our senators in our assembly to give us, through their attorneys, which is a bunch of BS anyway, but, just to kick the bucket down the road, so to speak, and try to put the onus on somebody else. What we don't want to do is to sit here and play partisan politics.
Right.
And what we're not going to do, well, I'm not going to do, see, the difference is that we can talk policies or we can talk politics. And I believe all of us would agree we can get more done talking policies than we can politics. And what this has turned into is a political football. That's what this is.
If it was before, no matter which way we look at it, it's always going to be a football.
But it doesn't have to be, because if
Not at
Roger,
this
all
level,
you.
not at this level.
That's correct.
This level, what we want to do is at some point in time, if they flesh it out, figure out whether it would be a useful vehicle to the county to actually involve and set up a charitable, a qualified and eligible charitable entity, and determine how the credits are work and so forth, all of which is not even yet done, not done at all.
Right, I respect that. But again, I think that the issue becomes, do we want to play politics, partisan, or do we really want to come to a solution that we all can agree to in terms of, do we ask the sponsor either pull it, come back with a new resolution, and move in a different direction? Or do we just want to sit here and see who's going to come out with the most fanciest words to try to figure out a way to kill the resolution? But I don't have any fancy.
Freeholder Fitzpatrick.
I just want to make a clarification. The idea is not for the county to set up the charitable organizations, but to assist the municipalities in doing so for their tax collection. And I would agree to change the resolution and put the onus on our legislators and let their lawyers look at it, if that would be.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get a response from our legislators. It's not the kind of thing that they do to have go out and do a research project on a state law that's already passed.
Do you think NJAC would be able to do it?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure where the proper.
I think we should charge. I think we should charge them both. And somebody should be able to come back with an answer. But just to say we don't think they're going to do it, it's not acceptable. And I would agree, we pay into NJAC. Whether we like the answer or not, they should be held accountable. If not, we need to pull the hell out of it.
Yeah, I think NJAC is a reasonable solution. I think, Maureen, you just mentioned the municipalities is a good one to get involved. Yeah.
And really, the division of taxation of the state of New Jersey.
Correct.
I mean, that is the big one.
Well,
But you start the dialogue somewhere.
But
So.
the division of taxation is is supposed to be writing these rules and regulations as part of the 60-day period.
Yeah,
That is correct.
That's charged
I mean, it
with
says
that
it in here.
There's about 5 different
I just don't know
agencies
what
that
we
are
could be
charged with
doing
that
differently
responsibility.
than what the people who are writing the rules and regulations for 60 days are doing. What would we be doing differently?
In which part?
Well, you're requesting that we review, study, and analyze the new law for guidance for its usefulness and functionability. We don't know the functionability yet until we get these rules and regulations in 60 days from the Commissioner of Banking and Insurance, Commissioner of Community Affairs, State Treasurer, Director of Division of Local Government Services, Director of Division of Taxation. So I don't know what you're looking for us to do different that they're doing.
Talk to them.
To
Communicate
say
with
what?
them and
I think
find
the
out.
spirit of the resolution is really good. I'm going to say that. You know, if this is going to come down legally, then we're going to have some guidance on it. But I think the guidance sits within those 4 divisions, not with our county solicitor.
So you want to tell them the concerns like we've talked about? Is that what you want to express?
So what we need to do is come back and after dialogue, whether it's among us, our council, or the administration, and perhaps maybe give them some questions to be able to answer for us. Instead of sitting here trying to get it off the cuff, what are we going to ask them? How the hell we know we're going to ask them? They don't even know the damn answer. So what happens is, I think the solution today would be come back with a resolution. Again, we're repeating ourselves, but put the onus on them, whether it's NJAC, whether it's League, or whoever.
So basically.
But we have to start the dialogue with somebody.
We're a little too quick on the resolution, but we started the conversation. Is that?
It's always good to dialogue.
Okay.
But if it's not amended here regarding this resolution, you need to make sure, and with the permission of the chairman, at the next meeting, that resolution be put on. There's a 12-day or whatever waiting period. But because if you're going to pull this resolution, it needs to be clear that you're allowed to have another resolution in place of this at the next meeting.
Which is next week.
That's not going to happen. We've already passed that deadline.
Can I just ask a question?
Wait, whoa. What do you mean it already passed?
It's the
You can
deadline.
put them on whenever we want them put them on.
The deadline
It's a
for
courtesy.
The deadline for the agenda for next meeting is Thursday. It's not going to happen between now and Thursday.
Can I just ask a question?
At least I missed something.
Can-
Last time I checked,
Hold on.
we make the decisions.
Let's
but-
clarify this. Roger, if we wanted to put a resolution on next week,
Yeah.
we have to have it in by Thursday. Yeah, okay, by Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. Please submit 12 days prior to the freeholder board meeting.
And my comment was, if it's the sponsor's request to pull it in exchange for it, that we given her courtesy to have the resolution put on at the next meeting. That was my request.
that's fine with me. You know, if that's okay with you.
Can we just amend the last two paragraphs to
And as I
say,
said, we can't amend it, right?
to just remove county Department of Law?
You
replace
certainly
it
can.
with NJAC and lead municipalities?
Yeah.
Just do that.
Are you gonna do that? Just
We can
by
do that,
saying-
yes, I need a motion to do that.
So moved.
So, second.
Okay, let's,
As amended.
it is amended to what language, so that our council knows what it's amended to.
Removing all the references to County Department of Law and County of Atlantic County, and changing any of that to either NJAC and,
Put everybody in there. Everybody in there.
And lead municipalities.
right.
Why not?
That's our third attorney over there.
I like
concur.
I like to pretend I'm a lawyer every now and then.
Roger, can we do that?
Well, you can certainly amend it. I'm trying to read and think along with you what kind of language you would want to insert in place of
The last
the language
whereas,
that's already there.
if the interim, it would be useful and positive step for the county Department of Law. It would be for NJAC and the lead municipalities to have an opportunity to review, study, and analyze the new law, to provide guidance to the county.
Something has to write this down. Is that language? that you
Are we
want?
recording?
No. Yeah, we can have it.
Okay.
I'll get it for you some of the time between now and Thursday.
Wait, why can't we just vote on it now?
You
Oh,
can,
okay.
he just can't have the language when he hears the recording.
Got it.
You don't have a secretary.
Madam
So,
Clerk
so
will
we can
assist you.
vote now?
All right, so there's a motion, right?
Amend the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We already have it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So you have an amended resolution. Okay, now you have to vote on the resolution as amended.
Right. Move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's it?
But did you need a roll call?
We all said aye.
I'm Ernest.
I can tell you one thing.
Thank you,
You're
Joe.
more confusing than confused. All right, we're gonna move on to 215.
All right.
Resolution urging support of Assembly Bill number 1100, the Common Sense Shared Services Pilot Program Act, and its New Jersey Senate counterpart bill, sponsored Karen L. Fitzpatrick.
Vote.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Patrick, you still have the floor.
Okay, so, just to go back a little bit, we had 3 resolutions on this agenda, 195, 196, and 198, that all talked about shared services. And like the title of the bill says, Common Sense Shared Services Program Act. So this is a bill that is not a mandate for municipalities, but an opportunity for municipalities to share administrative jobs. It's already happening in Northfield, Mullica, and Folsom, where they share a CFO. Again, not a mandate, but an opportunity for towns to work together and save money. I think that we are in a situation of property taxes in Atlantic County where it's devastating to a lot of people. It's difficult for many people, and drastic measures aren't necessary. And shared services, the conversation of shared services will begin to alleviate that stress on our taxpayers. We have to make some changes and do things that haven't been done before.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Freeholder Risley.
Thank you, Chairman. I had really grave concerns about this particular resolution. We're talking here about citizen tendered people. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I understand the intent. A lot of things have great intents. But I can't support this as written. I think there's some type of an agenda here. I don't know what the agenda is, but I have great concerns about this resolution. And I think that this will be used as a lever, and I think I don't think it gives options. I think it's a mandatory thing, so I'm very concerned about this bill. At this point, I can't support it.
Freeholder, I'd like to read into the record here the language of the Assembly Bill 1100. There is established a pilot program to evaluate the efficiency and functionality of sharing of services of certain local personnel having tenured rights in office. Everybody knows what tenured rights are. So this will allow municipalities in the pilot counties, which are Camden, Morris, Ocean, Sussex, and Warren. Now they're asking Atlantic to come into this, to enter into shared services agreement pursuant to the provisions of C40A:65(1), which states the following: for services of tenured local employees, and provide for the dismissal of any tenured local employee who are not selected to be service providers under the shared services agreement. Now, in great discussion that I had with our administration, that would include municipal clerks, chief financial officers, assessors, collectors, municipal superintendents of public work, treasurers, and other personnel who are civil service protected or tenured under their own job description. The thing that disturbs me the most is this one phrase, that who are not selected. Who's selecting the one shared service person to work and firing the other 2, 4, or 6? We have 21 collective bargaining units in this county. I will not support this because it gives the impression that we are ready to disregard collective bargaining units and tenured employees. And I would like to not have any action on this today, and I'd like to invite Assemblyman Mazzio to come here and explain it to us at a meeting, because this is certainly language that is disturbing and should be disturbing to all of our employees who are tenured.
Chairman,
You're on the course.
if I may, what I don't want to do now is I'm not going to ponder on this resolution like I did that last one as long. I had the opportunity to speak to Assemblyman Mazzio prior to coming in here, and I told him I had some concerns regarding tenured employees, etc. And he made it very clear it's optional if these municipalities choose to do shared services. As you know, and this administration has been so successful in the last couple of weeks to win a pilot bill court fight, and a part of that you have to take on some additional shared services from the city of Atlantic City. But let me remind this body that a couple of months ago, or maybe a year ago, this body was considering hiring countywide assessors. And one of my biggest concerns were, and still is, what do we do with those assessors in those municipalities if in fact this body was to pass that legislation? Wasn't the issue whether these civil service employees, it wasn't an issue whether they were going to keep their job or not. Again, I question if this is partisan politics or we're playing the game of who's right and who's wrong or who puts it up. I had the same conversation with the sponsor today and asked the sponsor, it's up to her, if she would consider pulling this resolution today. Let's go to the committee, whatever committee I believe is deemed to go to, have a discussion, have some dialogue, and then we can come back and discuss this more effectively. I would agree with you that our assembly person should come and address this body and give us what his intent was regarding this bill in the legislation. I asked him. He said he would do it. Probably will not be at the next meeting, but he agreed that he would come. And so, still wanting to sit here for another 40 minutes to discuss a bill, I would certainly suggest, and I'm not in no way telling you what to do, but what I don't want to do is have this bill fail because politics and policies. We don't need that. But I think the discussion today from the last one tells us that we need to have more dialogue. What's happening? And I would suggest to this body that when we start talking about sensitive issues like this, maybe we collectively need to talk about these types of issues before it hit the agenda, so we don't spend 45 minutes to an hour debating who's right and who's wrong.
May I stop you for 1 second?
Without objection.
So today, I have here, for every freeholder, freeholder resolution requests that can be put into our solicitor and to myself to distribute, and we can send them to each other so that we can have discussions, because, you know, this wasn't pre-discussed, as you just pointed out, so that we can not have, you know, politics get in the way of policy or, you know, what have you. So going forward, if we could please adhere to this, which, by the way, I didn't make this up, it's been around a long time, we just haven't practiced it.
Without objection. I think we all would agree to that, Chairman. But again, you raise a good point, and it's legit, and so does my colleague here. And so what happens is, again, I point back to the sponsor of the bill for consideration. If you would pull this bill, and I don't, again, you tell me or us what committee this needs to go for discussion, and then have these discussions, and then hope we can come out of that meeting with some concrete language that will move forward. But we need to hold our assembly person accountable.
I would like to withdraw the resolution. I don't know which committee it should go to. And additionally, I didn't know that we were talking about this before this meeting. Open Mark left to that.
Well,
Whoever told you
I don't know
that,
who
you told
told you
me to
that,
come see
but-
me. I'll put a stop to
We
that.
can't talk as a majority
Right.
without a advertised meeting. But I mean,
Oh,
similar.
they do it, but you're not part of the meetings, but
Well,
you're right.
similar for the resolution that I put up today. We talked about it in budget committee.
That was your committee.
Everybody was good.
I agree with you
Everyone
on the
was good.
committee. I think it should be going to committee, and when, as Chairman said, we have this, he sees them ahead of time, he could refer it to committee before it comes to us. So I think that's really important. I think that's a real point we should think of.
But it doesn't let our assemblyman off the hook.
Absolutely not. Even
Committee can save it.
So Chairman, what committee would that,
I am sadly remiss to look at my committees here to find out that we do not have a shared services committee. And I believe that is something that we should put together.
that's a big issue.
That's a big issue now. And I think that, you know, we won't be doing it right at this moment, but within the next day or so, you know, we will definitely put together a shared services committee.
Wouldn't this go toward, like, personnel?
Well, I think it's got to be a more focused purpose of a, because I'm looking at code review committee, I'm looking at, you know, which would be something that would lean on, but I really do believe that we should have this.
I think the time is right, because a part of your 13.5% agreement, we're talking shared services. What a great opportunity now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to take over the health department in Atlantic City and fire all the employees, so maybe it's a good time to talk about this.
I think you're correct.
Mr.
To
Chair,
presentation and build on wheels. Quick.
I like it.
Mr. Chair, I just want to remind you that there is a law that handles environmental. It doesn't come under the Shared Services Act, it's a separate bill that they passed many years ago.
Well, I do know that, but I'm saying this is just in general shared services, because we are going to be discussing sharing services in Atlantic City very shortly as part of our settlement, as most people know in the public.
They've appointed a czar. I've been told actually they've appointed two czars for shared
The
services.
last czar that worked was in Russia, so, you know.
Okay.
So let's go back to the
Mr. Chair, can I just make a
Yes.
comment with regard to shared services? I don't, and I say this with all due respect, I don't think we need a pilot or a law to compel municipalities to consider shared services. I think they've been doing it for a very long time. I mean, Egg Harbor City, Hamilton Township, Dispatch, Galloway and Buena, Hamilton Township, Buena now have a regionalized support. I mean, there's so many examples of it out there. I don't think that,
Yeah, but
and I don't want to compel a municipality to go enter a shared service agreement with somebody else, and it's like a state unfunded mandate, in my opinion.
All due respect, part of the problem, and Chairman, if I may, part of the problem is that one of the reasons that the county did not get the 13.5% because what did the governor say? It didn't do enough shared services.
But I think we've discussed
Wait a
that
minute.
at length.
No, absolutely.
That's that's after the
I
fact.
don't,
That's after.
it's still a part of the discussion.
Well, it's
Because in order to move forward,
let's just say that shared service is a really good idea and we got to do it. How's that to save money? How's that?
Let me make one point here. The devil is always in the details. And that's why we were in a situation with the pilot program,
Absolutely.
because the piece of legislation was garbage. Okay? That was the problem with it.
but most of y'all agreed with it in the beginning. Y'all were for it before y'all were against it.
If you want something done right, you gotta do the work, you gotta ponder it, you gotta read the material, you gotta study it, and then come back with a right resolution, a right ordinance. That's what you gotta
300
do.
Risley, you are absolutely right. Part of the problem with that pilot bill was it was that esoteric meeting at Drumwacket, and you know who the hell was in that meeting.
And that part of that problem was.
I didn't say you, I'm just saying.
Part of the problem was that what was on tape and promised by the governor was taken out by an assemblyman.
Negative. That was taken out by the monitor.
Okay, we killed that. We're
So,
going to
Chairman,
have a
go
shared services committee very shortly.
But again, so we're clear, she is pulling her resolution again to go back to committee.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion for that, Roger?
You should. You should have one,
Motion
yeah.
to table?
It's an agenda item, so you should have one.
Okay, there's a first and a second, the motion to table, call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Horsey?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Prometheus.
Yes. That brings us to the end of our printed agenda, and weren't you people lucky to be here for an hour and a half meeting? Thank you for waiting.
Frank's fault.
Sorry about that. All right, reports of special committees. Anybody have a special committee report?
Yes,
Yes,
so I met with the library committee, and one of the things, I know that we've discussed it at lunch about the privatization of the libraries. I know that we're all against it, but I think that if there's not gonna be a resolution, there needs to be at least a letter sent to this particular company, because they are still contracting employees.
I did not know that. Okay, so that's good. So we'll have to take a formal action.
Companies contracting employees?
We,
They offered me
Roger.
a job.
We made this very clear.
He emailed me and said that.
Roger, if we could get a letter out,
Well, you don't want to do it by letter, to be honest with you, because a letter actually takes more than a turn. Wait till we have a letter drafted or a resolution.
okay, we'll do that. Okay, very good. Next meeting. Thank you. Any other reports of special committees?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Field Corps?
special committee, thank God, sports betting has passed in New Jersey. And we're moving forward, and that, the fact of the matter is that the legislators has got to move quickly now to get it in place. We'll see how quick they actually move. But while we're on that subject, on the serious note, I want to certainly commend Senator Ray Lesniak, who has fought this deal up and down for years and years and years. But most folks went south on it, and him and the former governor kept it on the burner, and New Jersey has certainly come out on top of this, and that Atlantic City and other places should do well.
I was going to bring that under good of the order, but I'll tell you what, I don't want to, fail to mention how important it is. We fought a real bipartisan fight here at the last referendum a year ago to keep North Jersey casinos from developing.
Right.
And members of this board, commendably, Freeholder Corsi and others were at the forefront of that fight, and Assemblyman Brown at the time. I think something's happening so unique in Atlantic City that is going to put the coffin nail on that idea for many years. I think Hard Rock's going to be a game changer. We'll see about Ocean. But when this sports book opens up here, I think that the interest in Atlantic City are going to fight to keep their exclusivity again. And that is where I think that's the untold story about how important that is, which means stability for our county, for our tax base, and for our working families with jobs. So your point is well taken. Anything else? Reports of special committees? Seeing none. Any unfinished business? Seeing none. Any new business? I have to say today, the Atlantic County, I should say our recovery court, formerly called drug court, had an unbelievable first meeting on opioid addiction crisis at community college. There were 400 people there. And a couple things were pointed out. There was a scientist there that proved that nobody is a junkie by choice. Nobody is an addict by choice. These people's brain chemistry, she was a neuroscience, neurobiologist, professor at Rutgers Medical in Newark. Phenomenal, irrefutable evidence that when somebody is addicted, they're no longer going for their high, they're just going for their brain to get back together again 4 times a day, every 6 hours. And very compelling. I was supposed to say what Atlantic County was doing for the opioid crisis, and I did. But by the time I was one of the last speakers, and we were not doing enough, and we're going to do more, but we are commendable. First of all, the only way to flatten the curve to overdose death is by some type of other drug besides the heroin. And methadone, like it or hate it, is the one thing that stretches out the life of an addict with a chance to recover before they overdose. We have the only methadone program in the entire state of New Jersey in our county justice facility, and that's a credit to our outgoing warden and to this administration. We've dedicated $100,000 through the Workforce Investment Board with Ms. Lowry to try to get the people that come out of drug court. And let me tell you about drug court. It's a 5-year program. This afternoon they graduated 83 students, 83 participants. 5 years of no drugs in their system. And when they come out, every single charge, every single arrest, every single count against them, their record is expunged clean, and they get to go to work. Joe Gingoli, in case you don't know who he is, he's the owner of the Hard Rock, him and Jack Morris. He has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he's committed 150 people out of drug court to go to work. I've said this many times at the Freeholder meetings. This Freeholder board funnels between $11 and $14 million to the WIB a year with federal programs, job training, and what have you. We need to find a way for legislation to change to put more of it toward people coming out of drug court that can go back to work, and that's what we're going to try to do. So I just wanted to bring that up as sort of a new business that we should be fully aware of. Anything else in new business? Freeholder Risman.
Mr. Chairman, earlier this afternoon we talked about things in regard to Atlantic Cape Community College. That's near and dear to my heart, and I think all of us. They're facing some challenges there with finding enrollment. They've laid off some staff. We need to meet with Dr. Gaba and whoever else you would like us to meet with, see what we can do as a county to promote the college. Really promote the college and give it a PR and help, because we have a great resource there. we're getting kids out of college today, and they're coming out with this huge amounts of debt. And it's nothing more than a yoke around their neck. They're never going to get ahead in life with this tremendous amount of debt. And the parents are somewhat to blame. The parents always want the kid to go to the best school and so on and so forth, and pushes the kid to do that. We can save our children a lot of money, a lot of headache later on by allowing them to go to community college, get 2 years, transfer to a 4-year college, and complete their degree work. And if they want to go further, fine. My son, for example, is going to go to community college in September. And, this is, it just makes so much more sense when you sit down and start doing the math. And that today, for many of us to be successful, you no longer just need a bachelor's degree, you need a master's degree.
Yeah.
When I sat as a township committeeman in Andover Township, we were looking at promotions. We had 5 people sitting in front of us. They all had master's degrees. Not bachelor's degrees, they all had master's degrees, police officers. So that's the world we live in today. It's a certificated world. And in order to get, our kids through the system and through college, get their education and find out what they want to do, we really need to encourage our local students, go local, go cheap, get a good education. So I'd like us to, have that conversation too with Dr. Gaba as to what we can do to promote our college.
Actually, if I may, we had that conversation with the board at ACC and with Dr. Gaba, and I think, if I'm wrong, the chairman agreed also that we would be meeting with them to try to come up with other ways to try to promote that college in conjunction with the county, what do you call it, newsletter that goes out. I think we got a row in there, a column in there now, we need to start using it. But you're absolutely right. I know a local whose son went to ACC for 2 years, went to Rutgers for 2 years, he got his degree. Now the kid's leaving high school, going to ACC, and then one's going to Rutgers. So you're absolutely right. We need to be able to promote that college because we got one in Atlantic City, one in Mason Lake, and one in Kingston County. You got to do a better job.
You're right. I think just promoting the success stories. I know someone with 2 years at ACCC finished at Stockton and went and got their master's in social work from Rutgers University.
Okay.
So I think if you highlight those success stories.
Yeah. I think we discussed a ton of great ideas. I think we need to implement, number one, and I think promotion starts right in our own back doors. The fact that Ocean City brought a bus of high school students to that student center opening, and Oak Crest High School, who's right next door, didn't walk students over, blows my mind, but I don't think anybody had a conversation with them. So I think it starts very back to basics, very localized discussions. And I think, Dr. Gaba is new and still getting her footing. And I think she's very open to all this. I think we just got to put that implementation plan together and do some of these things that are very low-hanging fruit.
And whatever ideas she has,
Yeah.
we'd like to embrace them.
Okay. Anything else on the new business? We've all received written communications. Any type of correspondence we want to discuss today? Seeing none. We are now open to the public. Anyone wish to speak, please come forward. Step to the podium, tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Samantha, letter writer all week. We are here to talk about the healthcare industry and the vocational school and the funding for the one stop. I have been talking to the state and they did find some funding and they are very open to dispersing the money differently in the future. They're going to look a lot into where it's being used in each county, what's being used, what the demand, instead of the unemployment rate. So I did talk to him and really my colleagues and everybody just want to tell you how serious it is to the local businesses and the residents. So
Could you please give us just an overview of what the Training Institute What it trains?
We train CNAs, home health aides, and we train dialysis technicians.
How many students?
Lot.
Yeah, I know, I didn't bring those exact.
She was actually-
Just a ballpark.
I guess a ballpark at this point in time, like about 300 maybe.
A year.
Is that a year? 300 a year?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you're receiving your funding from the state, and that dried up? Is that what happened?
We were receiving some of our funding from our low-income residents.
Yes, from the county.
Ones who qualify for that. We're a private school.
Okay, Rhonda, could you connect that for us?
Yeah, well, I can let you know, as of this point, we've dispersed $380,833.35 to first grade.
For the year?
So far, for this year, $380,833.
And based upon, thank you. And based upon the 300 students here, what is the total need to fund the program?
That is what we're actually here for with the people. The people they're passing, they're getting jobs, they're entering into society, as a full-time worker. We have a great success rate. The employers are literally here to speak to you guys and tell you how in need of caregivers.
We believe you. So we believe you there's need. At this board, we need money numbers. So if it all comes down to money. With me, it's all money. So we can talk about all the goodness of it, but what's the money?
Freeholder Fitzpatrick and Freeholder Bennett have been helping us get a hold of the state, and they've been helping us navigate with the assessment.
No, yeah, but I mean, your operating costs, okay, for the school. Hey, suppose you're not a low-income student. How much does it cost to?
It's the same amount.
So what is it? If I want to become a
The
phlebotomist.
grant is $5,000.
So each training for completion, each block is 5,000.
Correct.
Okay, so that in turn tells me that you need $1.5 million to get 300 students to be there.
Okay, so.
Not all of them are one stop.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If just forget who they are. To have your school function 300 students at 5,000 is 1.5 million.
No, because home health aid class is only 600.
Okay, so so again, whatever it is, it's not important. I'm not quizzing you. I just am trying to get an idea of what the need is. So your shortfall this year is how much?
I see. I don't know how to figure that out, to be honest with you, because there's so many openings out there. It's not how much it costs me for the school. It per how many students. There's so many available positions out there. So it's like it's endless. How much?
So how much
can
are
we
you
put
getting
out there?
and how much are you not getting?
It just ran dry. We were asking freeholders to help us with the state to take a better look at it.
Well, we can do the ask, but we got to know what we're asking. So if you said we were getting 720,000 in 16 and 15 and 16, and in 17 we only got 380, then I know you're so much short, 340,000 short.
Well, this is the end of our fiscal year, and it was also with the Kate May and Frank. Well,
I may be able to jump in. My name is Frank Mahoney. I'm the Director of Constituent Services for Assembly and Mazzy and Armato, so hello. Allied Health Services, a couple other programs contacted our office. I know they contacted the Freeholder Board as well regarding this issue. We sent a request to see what was going on with the money. The state was supposed to be here today. They couldn't make it. Neither assemblyman could be here regrettably today. So I thought I would come and just maybe clear it up a little bit. From my understanding, the county has already requested for additional funding for this workforce development program. The state, as of right now, is preparing a notice of award to increase the county's program for the year 2017. It is a 2-year program there, I believe.
Funding is 2 years.
Funding is 2 years, so this would just be for the next 2 years. This current calendar is 2019. We believe, and we'll have to wait for the commissioner to approve this before the county can request the money that they're saying, but it's going to be something around $200,000 to be sent to help this program so that people who go to the One Stop can go to these Allied Health Services and, I'm sorry, I missed.
We do the job placement.
Job placement, yes. So that was the update from the state. Again, I'm not from the state, I'm from Assembly Mazzio's office, but we thought we'd come and maybe clear it up because we were told that today.
Well, I'm sorry, Freeholder Gatto.
Chairman, talk about needing to clear it up. I am so lost. I have no idea what, did you all send emails to us or something? I have no idea what the issue is.
Oh, we've been
I
talking
just
with
whispered over
them.
here, so I'm confused.
Okay, well, I have no idea what we're talking about right now, so maybe Freeholder, could
I
you fill
just
us in a
got
little bit?
an email saying that this program existed and they ran out of money and it's a county program. So I sent the email to Jared.
So it's not a county, so
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, this is not a county program, is that correct?
No, but under the Workforce Development Board, Rhonda gets federal, state monies.
Right.
Okay, so under one of the programs called individual training accounts, somebody can go in and say, I'd like to be trained to be a home health aide. And so whatever the money is, $4,500, $5,000, you select that. And Rhonda can take from there. She can explain what they do to process those cases. They get X number of dollars. I think usually their ITAs, $2 million.
Well, we do, as Jerry said, we get funding from the state. They allot us, as you know, you see the award letters that come through.
Sure.
We get we actually got about three, I have the actual figure. We got $3,173,738 for this program year. That includes our youth funding, that includes the adult funding, and it includes dislocated worker funding.
How much of that would be dedicated, Rhonda, sorry to interrupt you, to this particular Allied Health Training Institute?
Well, I can't, it's not allocated specifically to them, but I will tell you that they get the majority of the funding. We send quite a few people choose their school. We don't send them to any particular school, they get a choice. They have a choice of the schools that they go to.
So it's like a scholarship, you go
Yes,
wherever you
and
want.
so, right, they can go wherever they choose to. And I do know that, because I have a list of all the money that we've spent so far for this fiscal year, we've spent almost 1.8 million on individual training accounts. So it's almost
So
about two.
the ITAs are 1.8 million, but they get to choose where they want to get trained.
Right.
Just one other thing, remember, you all vote on it, probably, you vote on it, you see, but it doesn't ring true to you now until you hear what she has to say. There's like 50 or 55 different agencies that do training.
That's
not
correct.
only Allied Health. You
Right.
can go get
I have a
truck
list.
training,
Exactly.
CDL licenses,
So
right.
so what are we talking about here then?
The county split, and we were Atlantic Cape so we were able to pull from that funding because of the way the state was dispersing the money was the unemployment rate to the resident rate. But the statistic wasn't the statistic, and they don't have the demand that we have.
Okay. Can I ask a question, please? Who owns Allied Health Training Institute?
I do.
Okay. So you and 54 other providers are vying for this money, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And not only
Yes.
for CNA training though,
Right,
it's
it's
for
other-
training.
It's
Oh,
all
I remember
training.
we did the thing with the truck drivers. I
Yes.
remember we did,
All
I mean,
training.
it was-
Exactly.
So, I guess you're all here thinking that we got a crystal ball, we know when the state's gonna release the money?
No, but from just our freeholders here, the state is looking at things differently, and it has already made an impact.
That's knowledge I don't have. State's looking at things differently.
As of
Yeah.
last week, yes.
I
And how they
got a
disperse
new
it.
governor that
Well, they
thinks
have a new, just a little bit of information. They have a new administration, as you know, new governor. We have a new commissioner who will be here. Matter of fact, he'll be here next week. A new commissioner, we have a new assistant commissioner. I have been talking to the assistant commissioner. We've been talking about the casino training. We've been talking about Local 54, getting money to them for training. There's a lot of people that are looking for funding for training. Unfortunately, the funding that I got for this year, which is the amount I told you, a little over $3 million,
3.173738.
has gotten to a point where we have actual contracts that are obligated already. Matter of fact,
Reserve funding.
Reserve funding for certain schools. So with looking at all of that, I realize that we do not have any additional money.
No discretional money.
To keep funding at $5,000 a person. So I asked, what I did was, I still accept people coming through applications. I asked to try to find them employment in other places before we do training, which is what we're supposed to do. Make sure they don't already have skills that they can use to get a job that we have a need for.
Right.
And then there are some that we upgrade, you know, because it's incumbent workers, we have a little bit of money to do that too. I asked them and I told them, I can read you what I actually sent to them. I told them as of March 31st, I have a little over $69,000 in adult funding and $171 in dislocated worker funds available. With that, it's an average of $65,000 per month of adult spending and $46,000 in dislocated worker spending. So I'll have no carryover money to carry me from this year to that year, to the next year. So when we get our new funding, okay, we usually get funding July 1st. The funding they give us in July 1st, the federal government does not allow us to use but 1% of that between July 1st and October 1st.
The fiscal year. You gotta get to the fiscal year.
So I may get $3 million, but I can't use $3 million
$300,000
until October 1st.
I get $30,000.
So I even told the state that piece, that in doing that, that means that the average I'm spending, or that people are requesting, I would need to hold me until September, for September 30th until October 1st. I would need at least $390,000 in adult funds and $270,000 in dislocated funds, hoping that this will carry me with the new allocation until October 1st. So I've asked them, and I sent this letter back on April the 20th, and I'm waiting for a response.
You've done everything you can to try to get the funds.
That's correct.
By the way, request. Freeholder Bennett.
Thank you. So, I think there is a couple students who are falling through the cracks because they're supposed to start class in June. Is that correct? And that was the concern, is that they weren't being able to start their course.
They're not going to be able to start.
They're not. And so all of these different agencies have been contacting the state on their own, in addition to contacting us, trying to get some resolution to help these students start.
So at our level,
right,
of Freeholder, and in earnest trying to be as helpful as we can, what is, I'll ask the owner of the company, what is the expectation of this board?
Kind of to make noise.
Sorry?
Kind of only to get to the higher ups. We thought that them speaking for us, saying this county is having an issue.
I'm
with
confused
this.
because if the assemblyman office already.
Right. I contacted him, he didn't know about it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Let me, ma'am, I'm not as astute as that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You made a statement.
I apologize, I didn't mean
You made a statement that you tried to get to the upper. The assembly's office representative is here, and he's indicated that they have been able to at least identify $200,000, but have not been able to get it signed off on yet. Am I correct?
Yes.
Because I'm confused because.
So if my understanding is correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, the money must be requested by the county. Then the money has to be allocated to the county, and then the county has to meet some thresholds.
So we go Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney. Rhonda has made all the requests, and the limit of her ability is that she can only get about $30,000 between July 1 and October, and the ask is for $660,000. So the state is, the logjam is at the state. She has to go by her own regulations of grant and disbursement. Everything is what's called line item authorized. And that line item authorization is limited at when the funds are exhausted. Even though she's going to get the $3.173 billion, she can only spend 1% of that between July 1 and October. So at the end of the day, what we could do at this level is call you.
and you guys brought that up earlier in the thing, and we're here to
But the problem
bring
is,
that up, and we're here
again-
to answer your questions, and this is the answer we received. We came here today because the state was supposed to come here. They were not able to come here, so since neither assemblyman could make it, I thought I would come here today because I've been talking to them and give you the update.
We appreciate your presence, and we understand the problem, but leave here knowing that we are right on the mark of requesting within the confines of the program. The state has to alter that to get more money.
But let me ask you this question. What is the $200,000 earmark for?
It is now earmarked for, and it's got to be approved by the commissioner to go to Atlantic County for this program.
For which program?
The workforce development?
What'll happen is, he's saying 200,000. I don't know whether it's adult or dislocated worker money, first of all, but it will go towards training.
So training is, it's not classified.
Doesn't go to any specific.
It's not classified.
Right.
She'd have to find out what the line item authorization is for the 200,000. Am I correct, Ronnie?
Yes, and then from there, it goes to training, but the people still have a choice of.
So what it sounds like to me, if I may, Chairman,
Please do.
there's a big disconnect in the state. And so what I would suggest is that if in fact all is possible, that the Assemblyman's office representative, in conjunction with Ms. Lowry, through authorization from the county administrator, that y'all need to sit down and try to figure out how we talk about, and you need to try to raise that $200,000 up. But even, you've got to be able to say where that line item money's going. Is it $100,000 for the adults, $100,000 for training? It has to be specified. Just to say, we're waiting on the commissioner to sign the letter, which is a bunch of BS, because it can take 6 months for the commissioner to sign the letter. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, I work for the state, I know.
So my point is, since there's been a big disconnect, and maybe I'm talking out of school,
You're right.
that you need to get with our program person that knows what the hell's going on. Maybe they can enlighten the state how to move forward.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I'm here to look to do, figure out what we can do about this.
But at the end of the day, I don't know how many other, may I ask this, how many other training institutes are in Atlantic County?
49.
In the county, how many? Rhonda, how many?
I off the top of my head, I can't tell
Give me
you.
a ballpark, 10?
Oh, no, it's probably about 40 or.
So they're competing for money with 40 other entities?
That's correct.
Because nobody has the sole market on it.
No.
I mean, I'm not going to take this group over that group. I mean, you
Yeah, we
provide a
can't.
service. You
Freeholder Gatto?
Just a legality question, I guess. So I don't know, Freeholder Bennett, you said there are students falling through the crack.
Right.
I don't know how many there are, but legally,
I have a waiting list of 25.
okay, but the people who were scheduled to start June 1st, that may or may not start.
I have a waiting list right now of 25 people
Okay.
waiting to enter into training.
So my legal question is, not saying we're gonna do it, just a question. Can we as a county front the funds and get reimbursed when it's received so that the June people don't fall through the cracks or not? I know what everybody's thinking, I know, because you set the precedent and then it gets crazy. I'm just asking to help the people who are falling through the cracks.
So
I would agree with that on
Face
theory.
value.
Yeah.
I know, I
However,
get it.
I think we would be opening up a can of worms.
I know.
However, I got to be honest with you. I am about as confused about this whole issue. But you have the director of the program. I'm getting very little bit of answers from.
Yeah.
I'm not getting anything.
Well,
You come to the board. I would suggest, man, that you bring us something, a spreadsheet or something. I mean, we ask the questions. This young lady's answering them, but you own the company.
Well,
I'm
okay.
confused.
We brought this to the attention because we know that without the funding for the grants, that there's a severe shortage already. That's why we had brought the businesses here.
Ma'am, how much money do your company think you need to run your you're saying you're running out of money. I don't know what your budget is.
It's not me running out of money. It's not me. I'm not asking for my company. We
You do
got
it
people
collectively.
together to come to talk about the
So-
grant.
so if
That's
we-
what it was
if
about.
we-
I'm thinking it was for your comment, that's why I asked you the question.
No.
If I get a list of all of the health training institutes in my county, and I asked that, and I polled them to see if they had enough students, and they were putting people out into the workforce, what would their answer be?
If they had enough students? I guess I don't understand that question.
Okay, neither do we. I mean, I'm just trying to say, we cannot as a board advocate for one company.
I'm not asking you to
I
advocate
understand that
for
you got
them.
providers here that are showing shortages. We also aren't in the business of, except through our workforce investment board, we're not in the business of putting holes in different places in the job market here, except through the channel we have. And the channel we have is the Workforce Investment Board. And it's doing everything it can to train people under the confines of funding. That's it. There's nothing else to be done.
All right.
Would y'all agree that perhaps because there's such a disconnect, and most of us are caught off guard, so we're trying to funnel our way through this conversation.
You're the
I
man.
think the discussion needs to really be between our Assembly Legislative Office and perhaps our Workforce Development. Maybe we could kind of like tighten that up. I'm not saying you have not been talking.
Well,
but
I didn't talk to their office because
Right.
I was talking to the Assistant Commissioner, Hugh Bailey, who was trying to get me the money.
Yeah, you
So-
were talking to the person they're going to
Right.
talk to.
Exactly.
We say that's the person.
To a point, they're different people, but yeah, it's the same office, most likely.
Freeholder Bennett.
I just want to clarify that it's not necessarily one company, it's a number that are here.
How many companies are here today that are health training institutes? How many
They're
companies are
not
here?
the institutes, it's the people who hire
I
the
know, but how many
students.
companies are here that are health training institutes? That's it.
Just
Two.
us, but we weren't asking you for us.
And what company do you represent, ma'am?
Me?
You from?
Ally Health Training Institute.
That, right. It's the same company is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's one company here.
Okay.
Okay, we
No,
understand
it's
what you're,
also-
yes.
We are not a training institute only. I'm with Touching Hearts at Home. There's
Home
people
care
here
agencies.
from other home care agencies.
That
And
hire.
we're here to tell you that we can't hire enough people to do the work that's required to take care of the seniors in Atlantic.
And I'm here to tell you that the only place that we can train people to do that is through our Workforce Investment Board, and it's functioning perfectly. The funding stops at the state. We have no authority or jurisdiction over the state's funding of money as it relates to the Workforce Investment Board. The only person that does that is doing it as good as they can do it by the law, and you got to get to your state legislators or to the office, I wouldn't even say that, to the dispensing authority that puts these funds out.
You know what the state have to do. The state would have to take whatever funding that they have and assign it directly to the training of home health aides / certified nurse attendants.
So my recommendation would be to hire a grant writer who's connected with a good lobbying firm to get that money funneled into your training institute.
Well, they do have, the Department of Labor has the opportunity for skills grant that is available that any provider, or as long as they're connected with the employers, can apply for on their own.
So
they
ma'am,
can-
I'm
they
sorry,
can
what
do
is your
that.
name? Ma'am, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Eileen
Eileen, what's your last name?
Demling.
All right, Ms. Demling, have you been in conversation with Ms. Lowry?
Yes, we did talk, she was the one that told me that there was
I mean,
a
about
problem.
getting funding. Have you come up with ideas on how you can go
Well,
about
I thought
requesting
that,
grants?
let's bring the community businesses here to discuss it, to see, is there
That's what we
any
were
other
asking
way
about.
to help the county here
Apparently,
do it?
it's
That's-
beyond the limit of our jurisdiction.
But that was the whole point of
Okay, I
this,
appreciate your
so-
effort. I understand the problem. I genuinely believe there's a need for, home health aides and for, training people to do this. It's just that I don't think we have a modality to get funding to our WIB other than what they're doing. They're doing an excellent job. Yes, Freeholder Gatto.
Question for you to Wanda, if I could.
Mm-hmm.
The 1% rule, is that state law? Okay, Mr.
It's
Constituent
federal.
Services.
It's all federal, that's federal law.
Our
Okay.
money comes from the
I
federal
mean, maybe somebody could
to
look
the
at
state.
changing that, because that
Well,
seems
that-
ridiculous.
Good luck moving to Washington.
I'm just saying, Mr. Constituent Service over there.
Yes.
Go ahead and take that note.
1% statute will be on my list.
Thank you.
So let's be clear before we leave here, because I don't want y'all to be frustrated, like we didn't hear you. The question becomes, where do you go from here in terms of, there has to be that dialogue or connect, because there's definitely a disconnect here on some kind of way in terms of funding to keep it. I think the young lady said they can't find enough people to employ. Is that a strategy in terms of marketing? I don't know how that works.
That's
Well, I
kind of
got
been
one
an
question.
ongoing issue.
If all of these agencies are lacking trained individuals, do these individuals, or it's hospitals or home health aides or whatever, do they have funding they can help you with the training? Have you ever asked that question?
We offer to pay some out of pocket, part of the tuition.
That's great. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, just thinking about ways. It's thinking about ways of reducing the cost to spread out the money so that more people can go.
Can I?
Yes, please.
I'm so sorry.
Stand up, please. Tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Paula Poplock. I own Atlantic Cape Home Care in Ocean City. My family's been in this business for going on 25 years, and I'm a 3-county agency. I'm not just Atlantic, I'm Cumberland and Cape as well. I came tonight under the assumption that we were here in the invitation of Sam and Eileen, who many of our students come from, was to discuss where the funding was coming from. What I've learned while being here is that there is a sum of money that's allotted to vocational training, and I'm not sure if that money is actually, is there a program that says, well, if you want to come and be a truck driver, you want to come and be a home health aide, let's spend that money most responsibly and shop amongst the schools and find a way to stretch that money out.
I don't make that decision. It's up to the person.
Each person
Each
comes
person
along.
can decide where they
and
want to
picks
go.
what they want.
And they just get $5,000 and off they go.
If they're eligible.
If they're eligible,
If they're
absolutely.
eligible,
That's the basis of all
However
funding.
amount of course,
Eligibility.
every course is that amount.
It's all gifting.
Right. So I just wanted to be clear here. So really, at the end of the day, what's happening is it's just a miscommunication in the way the money are allocated and the timing on which they're allocated for each individual. There might be, everybody might come along and want to be a truck driver and not a certified home health aide. Is that correct?
What happens is my money is allocated to me from July 1st to June 30th of each year. What's happened is the amount of money that I've got this year on July 1st is already gone for this year. So I don't have any more money to pay for anybody else to go,
But that's
because
what I'm
I've already
saying,
spent
in
it.
the wide range of choices of vocations though.
Mhm.
So this is not funneled just to home health, which we
No,
all know,
that's correct.
obviously. There's a deficit in
You're
home health
right.
aides. Okay, so that's just a
correct.
given in all the counties, in all the states, in an effort to keep people in their homes. It's very difficult. But your money is not just allocated
No.
50% to home health aides, 25% to truck drivers.
It's just allocated to skilled training, and the person coming in gets to choose which place they want to go.
Right. So
Period.
I think that what we're also finding then is people choosing this vocation.
We're not
Maybe.
choosing it.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe as a group.
It's a different tree to bark up, but
We
you
need,
got
right,
the
exactly.
idea.
As a group, maybe we need to work on that as well, and maybe kids coming out of high schools and stuff that aren't intending on college, that maybe we can work with those programs and try to get schools more aware of the availability of this kind of.
Listen, we need to open up we need to get more students in community college. Go talk to Dr. Gaba
I'm with
at
that.
community college. See if she can open up a whole curriculum of home health aides. And it'll solve a lot of problems.
And unfortunately, they canceled their programs for us years ago. I think there's other agencies here, but I think I've been in business longer than anybody here, and I've been through the gamut long before there was even required home health aides, I was in business. So now that they are required by the state to go into the home, there is a deficit because you can't send somebody in that's not trained.
Certified.
I think there's some
I get it.
confusion though about the cost.
Can you stand up, please, and tell us who you are?
My name is Marie Sinaloa. I work for a home health care agency. I I think there's some confusion about the cost of the specific training. For what we need, home health aides, the course itself, because we just got approval to have this course, each student only has to pay a couple $100 just to get that specific license. And it's up to the individual agency to do recruiting to make them want to come and work for you, and make the rates high enough so it's looked at as a job that's somebody
Sustainable.
wants.
Sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be my question.
This is
as well.
just
So
one piece of it.
Who's paying one agency, is that $5,000 being appropriated?
We don't
correct?
pay agencies.
I know, that's what I'm
We
saying.
allot money to individuals
But
who pick an agency.
is the allotment too high? Maybe more people would get the training.
Oh,
if
no,
there
no,
was more-
well, I'm sorry.
No,
Excuse me.
please.
You're correct, it may be, but that's on the schools. I can't
Oh,
tell the
that's
schools.
on the schools,
I can't
okay.
tell
RCNA, but
them not to
more
charge
expensive than
Right, that's
$500 for a
what you
course
said.
that
Right,
may only
right,
be $200 or whatever. I can't do that. So if
Right.
the school says that it costs them $400 or $5,000, that's what I pay.
That's what it
I don't pay any more than that, and if it's not on the list, I can't pay for it either.
Gotcha.
So I don't tell them what to charge.
Gotcha.
They do that. But what we do is we put a limit. I have a board, similar to what you see here, the freeholders. I have a board with members that determine if I can pay more than $5,000 per person. And it's funny you bring that up because that's a conversation that the board is saying that maybe $5,000 is too much. Maybe we need to lower it to $4,000 per person and let other companies come up and with the difference of the fundings to allow us.
$5,000 for a
Right.
home health aide course, there's thousands of dollars left over. Where does
Exactly.
the rest of the
Yeah,
money
that-
go?
that's a
That's on the
cheaper-
I mean,
school.
do they get it back for books or
No,
do
no,
they
no.
get a
We
check?
don't get $5,000 for a home health aid class. We get
Okay.
$655.
For each student? Okay,
Yes.
okay. So
That's
the
the
5,000
combined
is
The
for.
5,000 is the max that I can give
Oh, okay.
to
Okay.
one
I
person, which was set by the board of how much
They
we can
pay out how much the class
How much
was,
you
not
can-
not 5,000 each student.
All right, I think we have a clearer understanding on both sides of this table. And, I think if any further discussion is going to occur, it's going to have to occur at the state level.
Would you start right here with the Assembly's representative?
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
They're going to talk to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Will you convene your meeting to figure out what you and Amato and Mazzio and Brown and all of them can figure out where they're going? But that $200,000, keep working on that to get more.
We'll see what we can do.
All right. Anybody else in the public wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Anna Strain, Nickelwood Township. I just have some suggestions for because I know you guys have been looking into the shelter. I know there was an issue, the dogs had pools up until last year. I don't know if they're still going to be allowed, but if they are, I'm willing to donate the pools and the umbrellas if I can, if they will be used. If that's okay, if you can get back to me. Second, when I was a volunteer there, a lot of those dogs, if you come in and adopt a dog, you do not have to put down a deposit or anything. All you have to say is, oh, I'm going to adopt that dog. If you don't come back in, they put a yellow sticker. As soon as you say you're adopting, they put a yellow sticker. If you don't come back in you could come not back in for like 2-3 weeks. Up until last year, the dogs were allowed to be walked that had the adoption stickers, the yellow stickers, but last year that got changed where no more walking the dogs with the adoption stickers. But it's really not fair to the dog because they could sit there then for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's not fair to the dog because they do get kennel stress. So if you could look into that, I would really appreciate it. And something else was, I know people donate, and believe me, I'm an animal person. I'm love to donate to help, not just animals, but other things. A lot of people are willing to donate, and I know that beds were donated. There was 48 beds that were donated, but they weren't those Caringo beds. And I know the shelter only uses the Caringo beds because they don't want the dogs chewing up the beds. So, but that person that donated beds was not told that. They dropped off the beds, they left, those beds never made it into those kennels. So if my suggestion, if you could possibly do a wish list of what the shelter, they only allow certain treats, they only allow, I believe, the Caringo beds. I know the collars, they used to throw collars out that were donated. If you could maybe, I know they only use leads. I'm telling you, people would donate. So
Okay.
okay?
There's a website called DonorsChoose, where we could put up a list specifically, and then the donors of the world have the opportunity to click it, donate it, buy it, send it.
No, when I used to volunteer at Beacon, they only used the Karingo beds because they don't get chewed up. So you could donate one bed, and you just go on, you buy one bed, and it used to get shipped right to Beacon Animal Rescue, just so you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion.
And then I just have one other last one, if you guys could look into it, because I know there have been dogs that sat in there for months with heartworm, and I know you guys know that heartworm is deadly. So I would like to know if you could look into what the procedure is with a dog that has heartworm. And me, I will take dogs that have medical. I don't take adoptable dogs. I take dogs that need help, because in my opinion, that's what rescue is about. So just so you know, there are plenty of rescues that will take needy dogs. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you for
much.
suggestions.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wish to speak? Yes, ma'am, in the back there.
Should I give them a stick?
Hi, I'm Nadine Flynn. I'm here to support Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We're going to make it quick. It's a very late hour. I won't say everything that I was going to say. Basically, Moms Demand Action is asking the Freeholder Board to declare and proclaim June 1st, Friday of this year, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And I have a draft proclamation that goes with it. But you are probably aware that Moms Demand Action supports while supporting the Second Amendment. They have a goal to reduce the 96 deaths a day through sensible gun legislation and by promoting gun safety. So we would like to have you.
Please give us a draft.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all. That was my request.
It's a very good request. I think we all support that. Thank you.
Give it to Sonia, she'll get it. I'm Sonia right here, up front. The pretty lady.
Randy
Yep.
Anyone else in the public wish to speak? Please do so now. Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Chairman. Oh, no. Go to the order.
Go to the order.
Just some good news.
Okay.
Tomorrow, City Council in Atlantic City, is my understanding, will be passing a resolution authorizing a gentleman by the name of Frank Bolton to go out to try to secure funding to bring minor league baseball back to Atlantic City. He was the original owner of the baseball. He sold it. He wants to come back.
Oh,
He's
that's
asked
so
for 90
great.
days. I believe he can secure the
That is
business.
so great.
Where do you work?
I'm semi-retired.
I'll leave it at that. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good evening.